finish your sentence. In reality.
In reality, like that's not really how it is. And I mean, I feel like a lot of times like people can be like what they want to be, but you have to work towards it. It's not just gonna come to you. But yeah, that's all I was gonna kind of say.
And Dulce, that's what happens, Dulce, when you're in the breakout room with the professor. Can you summarize? I want Dulce to model what we're going to do, which is summarize. One person from each group summarize what you talked about. So Dulce, you are our summarizer, since we didn't get to have your final comments at the end.
So what we basically talked about is how at the end, how America, how it says if this country does not find a way to use that energy, it will be destroyed by that energy. So we were basically saying that the energy is the people, and we have the potential to like kind of dictate America in a way. So right now with the riots going on and stuff, there's a lot of violence, but we can show America kind of like, how to say it? It's kind of like America's like a child, right? So we had to like the people show it the right way. So like, I think that's what we were trying to say. And also, what else could I say about what we were talking about? How we were saying that he was talking a lot about Black boys, and that it could potentially be him that he's talking about with his own experiences that he's had. And why he was talking about Black boys, we thought basically that it was because we see a lot of violence portrayed on Black men, and people see Black men as violent, and sometimes that's just how they're perceived, and that's probably why he's writing about Black men in particular. And yeah.
Excellent job, Dulce and Tia. That was wonderful to be in the group with you all. I feel energized. I feel like I just ran on the treadmill. I love it. On the mental treadmill, the intellectual treadmill. So how about someone from each group? And I don't know what the groups were. So you all, someone from every group. And there probably were, how many groups were there, Ty? 4?
I believe there were 9 in total.
9 groups. Oh
yeah.
My bad. Right.
So we can start from the beginning or the last group or whatever you want.
Yes, thank you, Ty. Perfect. Like,
okay.
Yes, can you do that, please?
Yeah, breakout room 1, Terry, Vanessa, and Victoria. Someone from that group. All right.
Just pick somebody from the group to. Yeah.
How about Terry?
Thank you.
I guess what we really talked about, like how we talked about what we all thought of the story, and what we answered like different questions, and we asked different questions about like I forgot like one of them. Mine was like, how can we teach future generation kids about racism and how we can end it?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Breakout room 2, Bryant, Floor, and Kate.
We basically taught. Well, we were going down the list of questions that we wrote, and well, to come back to who was that? Who's speaking right now? Terry's question. We had we were talking about the idea that like when most children at an early age hear like about like whitewash stories, like Christopher Columbus. Like we were thinking that was like something important when it has to do like with teaching about racism at an early age, because they should know the like they should know the not the sugar coated story, if that makes sense. Like know the truth of what actually happened.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, breakdown 3, Alexa, Isabella, and Kiana.
Okay, so we talked about we basically just talked about the story about we was explaining to Kiana what it was about. He was just the more the thing is that we just came to the conclusion that racism is not going to end. Like it is just changes form. Like they'll just find some other sophisticated way to, you know, I don't know.
Describe it.
Yeah, disguise it. There you go. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Next group. Let's keep it going, Ty.
All right, group 5, Dulce. Oh, no, you guys won already, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we went.
Group 6, Amelia, Elizabeth, and Orlando.
So we just like talked about the reading and his main message. We also said what Isabella's group said. We don't think racism will end. It also just changes forms. And I think white people, their privilege is always going to be there. And unless they recognize it, I don't think racism will ever be able to get better.
Which goes to the question about, is he writing about and to white people? I'll tell you all, he is writing specifically to white people. He definitely is doing that. You know, he is writing in the 60s and he's famous. He was famous for specifically addressing white people. So I love these comments. I love these observations. I'm a little sad that racism will never end, but I can't disagree with you all. I find myself not being able to disagree with that. Next group, Ty.
I have a question.
Yeah. Yes, Isabella.
Hi, don't you also think that he was talking to Black people too, as to like telling them not to abide by the standards? Like he was saying that he don't eat watermelon because Black people love watermelon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's writing to all people. Is he writing specifically? I think that for James, well, he knows that Black people know, just like he knows. He knows what the experience is. And I think that he assumes that other Black people have experienced the same thing that he's experienced, and the same pain and trauma that he's experienced. And so, yeah, I think that he's really focused on letting white people know how painful and traumatic racism is. Like, I can't remember who in our cohort group now said it. Somebody said it, that they just don't know. Like, he really feels that they are completely, I'm going to use the word, ignorant. They just have no idea how bad racism is for everybody, but especially for Black people. Yeah. What's the next group? Thank you for that question, Isabella.
So there's one more group left, and it's my group with Pearl and Tyrone.
We were basically talking about how white people felt the need to insult and mistreat Black people to mask their own insecurities.
Yeah, nice. That's a good one for us to, good. I love it, because that I guess I'll just be again in my professorial mode. That is the answer to the question. That's the main theme of that essay and much of James Baldwin's writing is that racism is a kind of psychosis. It's a kind of psychological problem, right? It's a definitely systemic. We all know that. James Baldwin knew that. It's political, it's social, it's certainly economic. It's an economic problem, but it is also a psychological problem, right? Can you repeat, Tyrone, what you said? Because it was really, really great.
Said that the white people would mistreat and insult black people to mask their own insecurities.
Yeah, I'm gonna, and this hand clap is for all of you because you did a great job in these groups. You really brought out the nuances of this work of this essay. I love these questions. I was taking screenshots because for some reason, Ty, I can't. My chat is turned off. Is that a host thing too? I don't know why I can't, I can't save the chat. I can see it, but I can't save it. And I normally do. So I had to take pictures of you all. And I am so excited for you all, impressed by you. You are ready. You're ready for the fall. You're ready for this thing. And I want to just spend the last few minutes taking questions about the homework, but also letting you know about the homework. Because I don't want to run out of time before I do that. And I don't want to keep you longer, even though I actually do want to keep you longer, but I know that it's not right to do that. So I won't. So let me share my screen again. And I'm going to just show you all what's on tap now, what you're doing, because you are ready to write this essay. I will grade your grade, just give you credit for your notes today. Didn't get a chance to get to that, but I'll make sure to go in and give credit for your notes. And then you remember you're going to be using your notes and your poetry and all your free write, and everything is going to be used and repurposed, if you will, for the essay, which is the thing that will be letter graded. And for the reading and writing assessment. So let me share my screen and show you. Now, Ty and Kiana, I couldn't find where the essay lived. That's what I was actually doing before I joined. I couldn't find where the essay lived. So there it is. But let me, I'm going to just show you on my instructor guide. That's where I found the essay. So that's what I'm gonna look to that. So let me see here.
What day is the essay due? Is it due on the last day?
No, it's due before the last day because I'm supposed to grade it and they have to rewrite it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on here with it. So here it is. I just found it on Friday, but I did not find it in the Canvas. I didn't even find the link to upload the essay. So if you and Ty could work on that while I'm explaining it, I don't know where it is. I'll email Erica after. But the essay that you're writing, the main assignment that again is going to be letter graded for this class is for the reading and writing class is this essay. So you're going to do a few things. You've done the notes. You're also going to write your own poem, which is, I'm really excited about that. And I hope you all are too. But in addition to writing your own poem, you're going to write an essay. And a short essay, and I'm going to read it to you. This is for my instructor guide, so you all don't have access to this. I don't know where it lives for you all, but in this essay, you will draw upon your free write notes and this discussion we had today to write a thesis-driven essay that compares an analysis of A Talk to Teachers, which we just discussed by James Baldwin, and Protecting the Treasure, A History of Indigenous Education in California, which you are reading tonight. You should read tonight, right? That's the homework for tonight, by Keyshawn Laura Cooper. You're going to present your own perspective on education in addition to comparing those two essays. So this is a pretty heavy lifting here, actually, because you're required to do three things. required to bring in all the resources, your free write, your notes, the discussion, and the reading. You're comparing the two readings, the James Baldwin essay and the Keyshawn Laura Cooper essay on the protecting the treasure. And then you're presenting your own perspective. And you're doing that in 3 pages. And 3 pages meaning 12 point Times New Roman, double spaced, typewritten, right? So the format is the standard format for an essay. It needs to be well organized and clearly written. Let me tell you what that means to me as an English professor. It means that it's going to have an introduction. It's going to have a thesis, which is a clearly stated argument or position. And it's going to have evidence in the form of both direct quotes and paraphrasing and references. It's going to have a conclusion that restates the thesis, right? And it's going to be well written. It's going to have complete sentences. It's going to have good syntax, good diction, meaning word choice. It's going to be written formally and it's not a free write anymore. So it has to be formally structured, as I just described. And we've got lots of guides for you on Canvas that will help you. And then I'm going to read it. I'm going to give you some comments, and then you're going to rewrite it, because that's what we do. That's how we roll. So I don't know, have no idea of where all of this is living.
I located it.
Okay, thank you, Kiana. Where is it? Tell me.
So if you go back to is this our cohort? Yeah, go to home.
Okay.
And then scroll down to day 4.
Day 4, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Then what
and then right there where it says click here on the reading and writing workshop. Mm-hmm. So here it is. And then it says at the bottom, it says turn in your full essay draft via Canvas by 11:59 on 6/26. So the next day. And so there's a uploading feature on the next day where you can upload your assignment. So
it's not uploaded here.
I believe, let me see. I think you're in access denied.
No, I can upload it. If you tell me well, let me put it on student view.
Okay, yeah. Well, when I clicked on it, it's telling me access denied. I don't know if that's because I'm not a student.
So if I click on student view, so now I'm a student, and I'm going to go to day 4.
Yep.
And then I'm going to say, click here.
Yep.
Turn it in.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. That's what it told me too. And I think it's because it's not open yet. But right. if you do go to day 5 on Friday, there is a submission button attached to the poem. And so I don't know if they want the students, because it does say to turn it in there, to turn it in on the next day. So I don't know if they're turning in their poems or what that looks like.
And I'm on day 5, and there's no, are you talking about this one, the poetry assignment?
Yes. When I clicked there is a link to turn something in. So I don't know if it's just not open yet.
Yeah, I think it's not. I think it's not available for them yet.
Yeah.
That's
so,
what it is. Mm-hmm.
So it
is.
I would still email Dr. Tom and ask Dr. Tom.
Yes. Do that. I will do that. But you know what it is that you need to do, because I just read it to you. And I want you to realize also that, it is going to be letter graded. And there are a couple of things that I would like you to do as we end. And I know we're a minute over, so I'll just end with this. Definitely look at Patrick Johnson's video. where he talks about a talk to teachers. It is an excellent lecture on that essay. So I would highly recommend it. Make sure you do the reading for Protecting Our Treasure, and you annotate that very well, right? You need to annotate that, read it carefully, annotate it very well. And then you're going to be positioned, I think you're going to be well positioned to write a draft of this essay. So make sure you have all your notes that you've been taking, your free write, your notes, notes from this discussion today. If you want to go back a little bit later and try to recall some of you all in these groups and in this large discussion, there are some jewels here. There were some things discussed today that would be excellent to insert in an essay. I'm going to be looking for that, all of that. So I'm going to stop my share, and so that I can say goodbye to you all.
Is the essay due on Friday?
I'm sorry to say that.
So the rough draft is due on Friday or tomorrow?
No, Friday, right, Kiana? Yeah, it's due
Friday
on
at midnight.
Friday by 11:59 p.m.
Yep.
The reason they did it that way, and I want to thank Ty and Kiana. Ty, thank you for the breakout groups, because I still would have been trying to figure that out right now. It's due on Friday because I'm going to read them on the weekend. I'm going to spend my weekend reading your essays, commenting, and then I'm going to return it to you with those comments so that you can rewrite it. And you'll be doing that on Monday. And then also one-to-one. So we're going to meet. I'm going to ask everyone to meet with me for at least 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, to discuss the essay next week. So that's why it's due on Friday. We are out of time. So if you have any individual questions, what do you do?
Email.
Contact Kiana.
Thank you, Eric. You email me, or what else can you do besides email me? What can you do besides email me, in addition to emailing me?
Zoom.
What'd you say, Andrea? I can't hear you.
Zoom meetings.
Zoom meeting. Zoom meeting, Andrea. Hand clapping you in real time. All right. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. Good job today.
You.
Excellent job today. Another hand clap. And I will see you all in office hours or in some other time. In the next time. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. All right, y'all have 5 minutes. I know we keep running a little bit over, but we start a little bit late anyway. So y'all have 5 minutes. Should be the same Zoom code again, so you can just turn your camera off, get a snack, get some water. See you back here in 5 minutes. Hello.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
Doing all right, thanks. How
So
have
it's 11.
Yeah, 11 o'clock, time to start talking about some quantitative reasoning. How did your
Right.
morning sessions go today?
Pretty good. We did some breakout groups. They really enjoy the breakout groups, the small groups. And for the most part, we had pretty much everyone with a camera or a picture on. So hopefully we can bring everyone back. But yeah, we had some good discussions in our reading and writing, and hopefully that will carry on to our quantitative reasoning.
Yeah, let's hope so. And I'm seeing some cameras turning on. Good morning. It's good to see you all. Hope you're feeling well today, feeling energetic. So while everyone is getting back into their mental focus state, you all might recall that we're working with M&Ms today, but not everyone loves M&Ms. So my initial question for you all, and you can type your answer into the chat, is what is your favorite candy, M&Ms or otherwise? So send us a message with your favorite candy. Gummy Bears, Three Musketeers, both good choices. What else do you all like? Ooh, Sour Patch, yeah, those are yummy. Sour Peach Rings, you know, I've never actually had those. I'll have to try them sometime. Mint gum totally counts. Skittles, oh, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Those are some of my favorites. Kit Kat. Any fruity candy. Understood. What else? Another Kit Kat fan. Any other candies that we want to show some love for today? More Sour Patch, Starburst. Crunch. What is that, the candy bar with like the Rice Krispies in it? Is that what Crunch is? Okay. Snickers and Twix. Cookies and cream, chocolate. Man, you all are, I guess I set myself up for getting hungry by asking this question. All of these sound really, really good right now. More cookies and cream love. Yeah, all right. Well, if you haven't yet put your favorite candy into the chat, go ahead and share that information with us. So to focus on our topic for today, I want to give you all a little bit of, kind of like big picture context for what we're doing this week and next. So far as part of your quantitative reasoning curriculum, you've collected some data, right? Monday afternoon, you collected data about yourself. So that was your heart rate and your mood, both as baseline measurements and then after meditation and then after brisk activity. And then yesterday we came up with additional questions for all Summer Bridge students, and other cohorts were doing the same thing. And so we combined those questions and, sort of massaged some of them that were similar to represent those questions. And in last night's homework, you all completed a survey in response to those questions. So now, as a Summer Bridge program, we have lots and lots of data about each of you individually. But when we see that data, it's going to represent every single one of you in Summer Bridge. So over 200 different data points about Summer Bridge students. So now that we have all of the data, and you all haven't seen it yet, but it exists and you will see it soon, we need to begin thinking about how we're going to analyze that data to make some conclusions about Summer Bridge students, maybe some generalizations, just to get a sense for what that information means. So what can we say about Summer Bridge students now that we have those data? So in general, when we're talking about data, or sometimes we call the actual data measurements, we call those variables. Usually those are classified into two different types. So one type of data is called categorical, and that's where the responses to the survey questions would fall within categories or groups. And then the other type of data or variable is what we call quantitative. And so that's where the responses to the survey questions would be numbers, but not just numbers. They would be numbers that are actually like measurements. So they'd have units associated with them. So can anyone give me an example of one of the survey questions from last night that had a categorical response? So something that your answer fell into a group or a category. And you can either type it into the chat or just unmute yourself and share.
I think one of them was like, what's your favorite ice cream? It was.
Yeah, Terry, excellent. Yeah, so your favorite ice cream, and then whatever you responded fell into either the category of vanilla or chocolate or Rocky Road or whatever that favorite ice cream flavor was. Excellent. Was there another example of a categorical variable or a categorical question?
Yeah, there is one about pets, like if you had one and then what kind.
Excellent, Bryant. Yeah, so the type of pet that you have, whether that's a dog or a cat or a monkey or a rabbit or whatever, again, falls into the group of those different animals or those different species. And so how about an example of a question that had a quantitative response? So something that you answered with a number. What were some examples from the survey?
How many siblings you had?
Great, Tia. Yeah, how many siblings you have? You responded with either 0 or 1 or 2 or 10 or however many. I see people in the chat. Victoria says shoe size was also quantitative because you responded with a number. Any other examples that you recall off the top of your head for quantitative questions?
There's a shoe that you own.
Brian, I didn't quite catch that. Can you repeat it?
The number of pairs of shoes that you own.
Yeah, number of pairs of shoes that you own. Excellent. How many of you had more pairs of shoes when you counted them up than you would have guessed? Either raise your hand or give a thumbs up or a nod. Yeah, I see some of you nodding. Yep. Yeah, when I actually take count, I'm like, I only have 2 feet. Why do I have so many shoes? But there's so many different types of activities to have shoes for. So I think it's fair. Okay, so thank you all for your responses so far. Last night, you also watched some videos about analyzing data. And in those videos, were we analyzing categorical data or quantitative data? Do you remember?
Quantitative.
It was, yeah, it was quantitative data. Yeah, because we were looking at percentages of people in different states, the southern US states, that had graduated from college. So those percentages were numbers, and they, represented percentages of people, right? So they had units associated with them, and that was quantitative analysis methods. So who can give me a name of some aspect of the quantitative analysis that was covered in the video? So any sort of term or value that you remember from the videos that we used to analyze those quantitative data. Anything at all, any word or term? Ooh, okay, so Dulce says Q1 and Q3. Yep, that's our first quartile and our third quartile. What were some of the other terms that popped up in the videos? IQR, which is the difference in Q3 and Q1. The median, yep. So that's the center, the physical center of our data. Maximum, the biggest value in our data set. And minimum, fantastic. We identified outliers, which are those extremely unusual values compared to the other ones. Is there anything else? You're doing awesome. I'm looking for maybe one or two other words. So far with min and Q1, median, Q3, and the maximum, what is that set of numbers called? It has a really boring name to it with those 5 values. Yeah, Perla, the 5 number summary. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so mathematicians and statisticians usually name things in really obvious and uninteresting ways. So yeah, the 5 number summary is simply a set of 5 numbers that summarize quantitative data. And it's again, minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. And then how would we visually represent the values that you all identified already? With a box plot. Yes, thank you, Flor. Awesome. Okay, so all together, we have reviewed the concepts from last night's prep. And so today we're going to practice doing or identifying some of those things together. And we're going to use the M&M packs that you all were mailed as our data set for today. So hopefully you have your M&M packs nearby. If not, run and grab them really quickly. Or maybe you have the data table with the numbers of each color that were in your pack. And just in case you all didn't receive those in the mail yet, they should be coming at some point. But for today, we have an online simulator that I'm going to post into the chat. So if you don't have your physical pack yet, go to this website and it will allow you to click on the image on the left side of the page and generate a virtual bag of M&Ms. So next thing I want to do is actually share the Canvas page with you all. And if you have the ability to be on Canvas at the same time, please go ahead and navigate to day 3 for quantitative reasoning. Terry, I'm not sure why you're not able to access the link. Let me see if I copied it correctly. Maybe try refreshing the page. And if that still doesn't work, then I can always generate a pack for you and send you that data. So on the Canvas page, we've got a link to our classes M&M data. If you click on this, it'll take you to a Google Sheet where you can all enter the number of red M&Ms that you had, orange M&Ms, yellow, green, blue, brown, etc. So if you click there, you should be taken to this Google Sheet right here. So when you get there, add your name and then your count data for your pack. And so if you had held out strong willpower up until this point, go ahead, crack that pack open, count your M&Ms, divide them into group by color, enter the data, and then once you're done, you can start eating them. Okay, so for a second, I'm going to stop sharing so I can send Terry some virtual data. Does anyone else need data from that MIT website, if they're not able to access it, just send me a chat and I will generate some data for you.
I am so getting confused with your share screen and my screen. Like,
I am
by
so
that type of
sorry.
speed.
Would it help everybody if I stopped sharing until you all are done? I'll do that. You're right, it's confusing.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so for those of you who are having trouble getting to the spreadsheet, I will send the link into the chat. Give me just a second. Okay, so here is the Google Sheet link. So that'll take you directly there. It's so fun to watch your little colored boxes move all across the screen. I'm easily amused. All right, so we've still got a couple of people entering their data. No problem. I know it can be, especially when so many people are on Google Sheets, it's a little clunky sometimes. Like, I know my internet slows down quite a bit when I'm on a shared sheet, so I hope that's not too frustrating for you all. We'll try to be patient, right? We'll use our meditation techniques from Monday to center ourselves and calm ourselves down. So Dulce, the other way you can access this sheet is through our course Canvas page for day 3 quantitative reasoning. You know, on day 3 where it has the 11 to 11:50 a.m. time frame, it'll say to access your quantitative reasoning cohort, click here. And on that page is the same Google spreadsheet link. So if that link isn't working for you, you could always send me in the chat your count data and I'll enter it for you if that's something that you're having an issue. And that goes for everybody. If you know the Google Sheet either isn't loading or if it's just too slow to work with, you can send me your counts in the chat and I'll add them on your behalf. So it looks like we're wrapping up here with our data collection. So Isabella, we still need a brown count for you. If you didn't have any browns, just enter 0 there. And then Dulce, we're also getting brown info from you. All right, it looks like we're all set. Awesome, thank you all for that. So if the Google Sheet is slowing things down for you, you can go ahead and close out of it now that we have the data for everyone. And I will share my screen because like I said, we're gonna use the data that you all collected from your candy packs in order to practice the techniques from last night's videos. And so for this practice, we are gonna focus on the red M&M data first. So as a reminder, these values are numbers, right? And they're numbers corresponding to units of M&Ms. So this is quantitative data, which means that we can analyze it using the 5-number summary, we can identify outliers, and we can draw a box plot for the data. So in order to come up with the 5-number summary, what's the first thing that I need to do with this list of red data?
Put them in order?
Put them in order. Yeah, lowest to highest. So what I'm actually going to do is I am going to copy these values and put them in a new sheet just for now so that they're a little bit easier to work with. And in order to order these, I can do this pretty quickly in Google Sheets just by highlighting them and then going to data and sorting the range. And let's go A to Z, which should put them in lowest to highest order. So very quickly I was able to sort them, which is one of the benefits of using a spreadsheet. Of course, if we had to do that by hand, we could. It wouldn't take too long. It'd just be a little bit longer than doing it with technology. Okay, so there are a few values that are pretty easy to identify from the 5-number summary. Which ones can we just read off right away? Which values from our 5-number summary can we quickly identify?
What was the question?
Yeah, so now that we've ordered the data and we want to come up with the 5-number summary, which of those numbers or values in the 5-number summary are easiest to identify? Ooh, I see a chat. We can find the median. That's true. Yeah, so let's go ahead and find that median right away. So first thing I want to do is count up how many total values I have in the data set. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 values. Now, since that's an even number of values, the median is defined to be the average of the middle 2 values. So for us, we would look for the 9th and 10th value. And I'm actually gonna, I'll make it a little easier if I cut and move these data so that now we have the number position correct for them. So for 18 values, the middle 2 will be the 9th and the 10th value. So that's 8 and 8. And the average of 8 and 8 is just 8. So I'm going to go ahead and keep track over here that the median is 8 for this data set. Okay, so that's one of our 5 numbers that we've already found. Beautiful. What are the other 5 values that we need to look for? Or sorry, the other 4 values?
Just a quick question. Do we copy this down too?
I would take notes. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, it'll be here in the spreadsheet for you, but in terms of how we were able to identify the values, anything that's a little uncomfortable or shaky, you should definitely take notes on. Good question. All right, so Eric thinks we should look for the maximum next. I think that's a great idea. So where is that? How do we find the max? It is, it's the last number. Yeah, so since we've ordered our data from lowest to highest, we know that the maximum or the largest value will just be that last one in the list. So for us, that's 12. So let's go ahead and take note of that too. All right, so 2 of our 5 out of the way. We need 3 more. What are the other values?
I guess you could find the minimum now because you already did the maximum.
Yeah, let's find the minimum. And similar to the maximum, this one is pretty easy to find now that we've ordered the data. So since the maximum was the last one or the largest one on the list, the minimum is going to be the first one or the smallest on the list. So yeah, Eric already told us that the minimum is 5, right, just that first number. So our last two values, I'm glad we saved these for last because they're probably the more complicated ones to find. But the process, once we get it in our heads, it's really not too bad. So does anyone remember how we find the remaining values, which are Q1 and Q3? So let's talk about Q1 first. How do we find that?
I have a question really quick.
Of course.
Is this kind of like statistics?
Yeah, I would call this general data analysis, which is definitely covered in a statistics class.
Okay.
But plenty of people who never take statistics might also need this for their work. So lots of sociologists, psychologists, biologists will use these similar techniques.
Yeah, I was only asking because I just took statistics and it's the same thing, but we use Statlet to find the stuff.
Gotcha. We will also have some shortcuts for finding these values a little bit later. But before we have software to help us, how can we do it? Just by hand or by mind?
I guess the Q1 is the median in the lower half.
Yes. Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much for that. So we want to look at the lower half of the data. And for us, we had 18 total values. So the lower half would be the first 9 values, which I will highlight here. So now if we just focus on these 9 values, well, that's an odd number of values. So the median of just this set will be the one that's exactly in the middle. So for the 9 values, the one in the middle is the 5th. So if I go to the 5th value, that's 6. All right, so that's going to be our Q1, which is 6. What do we think? Questions, comments? How about Q3 then? How do we find that? It's similar process. So instead of, Q1 was the median of the lower half of the data. So Q3 is going to be the median of the, which half?
Upper half.
Upper half. Excellent. Yeah. So again, with 18 total values, the upper half would be 9 values in those larger numbers. So for us, that'll be these 9 values right here. Again, that's an odd number of values. So we'll look for the middle one as the median. And again, that's going to be the 5th value now in this set of data. So if I find the 5th value, it looks like this 10 right here is going to be our Q3. So yeah, just as a reminder, this is the median of the lower half of the data, and this is the median of the upper half. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, so now we've got our 5-number summary. Let's next move on to identifying any outliers in this data set. So can someone briefly remind me how we identify outliers?
So the outlier is like the number that is like, it doesn't go with the rest of the numbers in the group.
That's right. Yeah, outliers are very significantly different from the other values in the group. One of the problems with that definition, though, is that what I consider to be unusual or different might be different than what you all would identify as being unusual. So we like to have one agreed upon method for figuring out if something is an outlier or not. Do we remember the method that was introduced in the videos last night? I'll give you a hint. We used the IQR to identify outliers. So let me go ahead and at least compute what that IQR is. So that was Q3 minus Q1. So for us, that would be Q3 we said is 10. Q1 we said is 6. We have a very nice IQR of 4 to work with today. So how do we use that IQR to figure out if there are any outliers?
Do you multiply by 1.5?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we multiply by 1.5, and that essentially gives us the distance either from Q1 or Q3 that we want to look for our outliers. Yeah, so outliers will be any values that are either smaller than Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR, or larger than Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. And sometimes we call these specific values, Q1 minus 1.5 IQR, sometimes we call that the lower IQR fence. And Q3 plus 1.5 IQR, we call the upper IQR fence. And the idea is that this fence contains all of the sort of normal values in our data set, and anything outside of the fence, well, it's lying outside of the data set, so it's an outlier. So let's go ahead and first take 1.5 times the IQR. So in Google Sheets, well, this works as a calculator for me, which is nice, but you can always use your smartphone or another handheld calculator to do this computation if you need. So we would take 1.5 times that IQR value that we found to be 4. So now that 1.5 IQRs is 6. And we're moving again to the left of Q1 by 6 units or to the right of Q3 by 6 units. So this IQR fence, well, we would take Q1, which was 6, subtract off our 1.5 IQRs, which we also said is 6, and that gives us a fence of 0. So if we look back at our data set, do we have any values that are smaller than that fence? Do we have any values that are smaller than 0 in our data set?
No.
No, the smallest one we already said was 5, right? And that's definitely not smaller than 0. So I'm going to say that I have no low or no small outliers. And then to look at our upper IQR fence, I'm going to look at Q3, which was 10, and I add to that our 1.5 IQRs, which we said was 6, and that gives me an upper IQR fence of 16. So again, I look back at my data set and I say, are there any values in here that are larger than 16? What do you think?
No.
No, the biggest one we saw was 12. So we also have no high or no large outliers. So overall, no outliers at all in this data set. It's pretty compact. All of the values are pretty similar to one another. Any questions or comments so far?
Tyrone had a question in the chat.
Oh, great, thank you. Let's see. How do we find IQR again? Yeah, good question. So IQR is simply defined to be Q3 minus Q1. So once we've identified our quartiles, Q1 and Q3, we just take the bigger one minus the smaller one, and that gives us our IQR. Any other questions? I see something coming through in the chat. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, and the 1.5 that Victoria is asking about, where does that come from? So that's a number that data analysts have just agreed to use for how many IQRs beyond Q1 and Q3 we would consider a value to be an outlier. So that 1.5 is just something that every time we identify an outlier, we use 1.5 times the IQR. So that 1.5, it's just something that was given to us that we use without question, really. If you continue on in data analysis courses, then you might learn a little bit more about why that decision was made. But for us, we just always use 1.5 IQRs as a given. So that didn't come from our data set, that came from people above us who have studied this longer than we have. No problem. All right, so now that we've done our 5-number summary, we figured out that we do not have any outliers. We are ready to draw a box plot for these data. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to draw it right on this Google Sheet, which is maybe gonna look a little silly, but I'm gonna do it with an annotation tool in Zoom. So let me find that. Oh, here we go. Annotate. I'm gonna draw and I'm gonna make my box plot. Let's make it blue. Why not? Seawolf blue. All right, so you all might remember that box plots are a very simple step-by-step process. First step was simply to draw a number line with a scale appropriate to our data. So we need to show a number line that has a range from at least 5 to 12, since that's our min and our max. So I'm gonna draw a line. Oh no, this is not very straight. Forgive me for that. So here's my number line scale. If I start at 5 here, then maybe I just mark out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I tried to make those step sizes about the same. And so if you're following along on your own sheet of paper, again, just try to make each increment about the same distance. So now that I've got my number line, my axis, next thing I do is I draw a box that spans from the value of Q1 up to Q3. So I need a box that starts at 6 and ends at 10. So left side of the box is going to hover over the value of 6 on the number line. I'll go ahead and note that here. And then I'll want it to go up to the value of 10 on the number line. So that'll be right about here. And then I just connect those two ends of the box. Again, I apologize that I can't draw very straight with my mouse, but hopefully you all understand. You seem like a forgiving group, so hope you're not holding it against me. So that's step 2. Now we have our box for our box plot. Step 3 is to draw a line from each quartile to, well, so the first one, we draw a line from quartile 1, which was 6. We draw it all the way towards the smallest non-outlier. For us, our minimum is 5, and we said it was not an outlier. In fact, we don't have any outliers. So we would draw a line all the way to that minimum of 5. Sometimes these are called box and whisker plots. So this would be like one of the whiskers in our box and whisker plot. And then the next whisker that we draw is from Q3, which is this end of the box at 10. to the largest value in our data set that is not an outlier. Again, we don't have outliers, so we would just go all the way up to our maximum value of 12. So I would draw that straight out here. Next, I need to draw a line that divides the box at the median. Our median was 8. So if I come over to 8 on my number line, I'm just going to divide my box with that value here. And then the final step would be to draw in any outliers, either by using a dot or an asterisk for each. So if we had come across a large outlier, I might put a dot out here on the right-hand side. But since we don't have any outliers, our box plot is complete as drawn here. So what questions do we have about drawing those box plots?
I got a question.
Yes, Flor.
If we have an outlier, say we did have one at 16, would we then draw the line to 15 instead of 12?
So let's say this is a good question. So let's say that we had, yes, one additional data point in our set. And let's say that was 17. I don't know if that's exactly what you said, but we'll go with it. And if we had identified that as an outlier, but 12 was not an outlier, then we would still draw this line out to 12 because that's the largest non-outlier. But then we would add a dot at 17, which would be, you know, way out here somewhere. Does that help clarify?
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to erase that really quick because I don't want anyone to see it and think that that's included as a part of our box plot. That was just hypothetical. Any other questions? Okay, so what we're gonna do, we only have a few minutes left together, but part of your homework for tonight is to use the remaining color data to find a 5-number summary, identify outliers, and draw a box plot. So in the next maybe 2 minutes, what I'm gonna ask is for Kiana or Ty, whoever is host today, to split you into breakout rooms of size group, let's say 3 to 4. And each group is gonna be assigned a color of M&M. So if I'm just gonna clear out my annotations really quick. So if I go back to our main data sheet, we will have a group that's gonna focus just on the orange data for their homework, a group that focuses just on blue, just on yellow, just on green, etc. So you'll only have to do one color, 5-number summary, outliers, and box plot for that color. So when we split you into breakout rooms, we'll tell you in your breakout room which color that you're going to do for homework. And if you all want to use a couple minutes of your break time before 12 o'clock to even pass contact information, you all can be, you know, collaborating on the homework together this afternoon to make sure that you get the same 5-number summary, same box plot, etc. Then that would be a great thing, great use of that time. All right, so Kiana, do we have our breakout rooms ready?
So Ty's actually the host right now.
Yeah,
so Ty will do that.
Yeah, I made the breakout rooms. Do you want the bridge leaders to be in there as well or no?
Not right now.
Okay.
So just students.
And then how are we determining who's what color?
So what we'll do is once they're in their breakout rooms, the 3 of us will quickly assign colors to groups, and then we'll hop in each and tell them which color they're doing.
Perfect. Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna open the breakout rooms right now.
Thank you. And so Ty, how many total rooms did we have?
Including ours, there's 6.
Okay, but there's just 5 of
5,
the students. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so let's have well, and so Ty might have to throw Kiana and I into those groups manually. So maybe Kiana, if you could be sent into groups 1 and 2, and group 1 will focus on the orange data.
Okay.
2 will focus on blue.
Okay.
And then just make sure that they kind of know, like it's in the assignment description, but in case they have questions about what they're doing with that data, it's
Okay.
5-number summary, outliers, and box plot.
5-number summary, box plot, and then what was the last one?
Outliers.
Outliers.
And
Cool.
which room do you want us to be in?
So could you send Kiana first to room 1, and then when she pops back out, she'll go to room 2?
Right. So 1 is orange, 2 is blue.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. And then Ty, so let me just really quickly get these down. Could you send me into room 3? And then if you could hop into room 4 really quick and tell them they're working on green. So group 4 is green.
Okay.
Again, 5-number summary, outliers, and box plot. And then when we hop back out, one of us will go into group 5, which is brown.
Okay. And you said I'm going into group 4 and they are green, you said?
Yeah, group 4 is green. And then if you could send me to room 3, do you know how to do that?
And then I'm going to 1.
Yeah, I just did it right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you guys should have got the invite. Let me know if you didn't.
I got it. Thanks.
Okay. All right, what's up, y'all? Professor Shot just told me that you guys are doing the green one. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Yep, no problem. I'll catch y'all later.
Happy birthday.
I hate you.